Good morning. The Lord be with you. It's an interesting passage we have this morning from the gospel, especially in this time. I think we hear it in this time unlike we've ever heard it before. And there's that line particularly, I will not leave you orphaned. I am coming to you. Anybody feeling orphaned these days? Or worried about someone who might be feeling orphaned in this time of necessary separation? The Greek word used in the Gospel of John is orphanos, which literally means being deprived of one's parents. Some of us are literally experiencing that now. Some of you have lost a parent in this time. Some have parents living in assisted living situations or have been hospitalized. Or you just know that you need to stay apart because they're vulnerable and you're worried. And some of you are parents separated from children or grandchildren. I see and hear touching stories of people waving through windows and holding up signs or photos, writing messages, sitting in lawn chairs at a distance and talking for an hour or more. There are some English versions of the Bible that translate orphanos less literally. And certainly Jesus intends this more figuratively and broader than specific family relationships. It's meant for all who are feeling loss that results from separation. The good old King James Version says, I will not leave you comfortless. And the Revised Standard Version, which many of us grew up with, says, I will not leave you desolate. In reading our gospel passage this week, another word kept coming to mind for me. It's in a prayer that I always use for pet-friendly worship services. I don't remember where it came from, but the prayer speaks of God binding him or herself to us and to future generations and all of creation in faithfulness and love. And it ends with this line. Truly, you are a remarkable God whose graciousness knows no boundaries, and before whom no creature is left desolate or bereft of your grace. Bereft means bereaved or grieving. Sadness at the loss or separation from people or circumstances or relationships that are important to us. We all are grieving, and in this time especially, it's more complicated than ever. So we hear orphan in this entire passage from John differently than we have heard it before, even though it's a part of our regular lectionary. So it's important, especially now, to consider where that line comes from. I will not leave you orphaned, I am coming to you. This portion of the gospel, according to John, is known as the farewell discourse. It contains Jesus' last extensive words to his disciples following that Last Supper and the washing of feet. Jesus knows what's coming. The cross awaits. He himself is troubled in spirit. In fact, in the 13th chapter of John, the part leading up to today's passage from the 14th chapter, we have almost a whipsaw of emotions, a roller coaster. Jesus washes the disciples' feet, and then he tells them one of them will betray him. He gives the new commandment, love one another just as I have loved you, and then he predicts that Peter will deny him 3 times. Emotions are all over the place. Ever feel like that in these times? emotions all over the place. That's one pretty clear symptom of grief and loss. It's disorienting. You all know that. Jesus knows that. And God knows that. And so, in his final words to his followers, Jesus offers them something they're going to need in the coming days and weeks and years ahead. Something to hold on to, a promise they can rely on. The Father will give you an advocate, Jesus says, to be with you forever. Some translations say helper instead of advocate. The Greek is paraclete, which means one who gives protection, help, and security. A helper, comforter, counselor. It also means one called alongside to help. These words from Jesus offer comfort and hope. But taken in the context of the foot washing and of the new commandment, they are also a calling. They are a call to discipleship, to put our trust in and believe in a living God who will never leave us. And trusting in that, we can find the strength, courage, and compassion to carry on, not just for our sake, but for others. We can walk alongside each other, keeping our 6 foot or 6 feet of separation. Remember 6 degrees of separation? Now we have 6 feet of separation. We can wave through windows. We can Zoom. Did you see the newspaper story the other day about the 92-year-old piano teacher in Denver who's using Zoom to continue piano lessons for kids and even 2 recitals this spring? We can make a phone call. We can write a note. We can send a card. We can cook a meal. We can make a run to the grocery store or the drugstore. And in those very acts, we are reminded that Christ has not left us orphaned. Thanks be to God, and God bless you. Amen.